The Bible says when Christ returns that Christians will resurrect with a brand new body fit for heaven. But how's that going to work? Well, this is the question that the Corinthians had, and it actually led them to doubt their future hope. They were asking the question, how are we going to resurrect? They'd seen sickness, death, and decay, and some were confused and maybe even doubtful that a body that had went into the ground over time could still be raised to life. In 1 Corinthians 15, beginning in verse 35, Paul responds to those doubting the future resurrection at the return of Christ. In verse 35, Paul says, but some of you will ask, how are the dead raised? With what kind of body do they come? And Paul responds in verse 36, he says, you foolish person, what you sow does not come to life unless it dies. Then he gives them an illustration. What you sow, that is what you put into the ground, is not the body that is to come out of the ground, but it's like a bare kernel, perhaps of wheat or some other grain. But God gives it a body as He's chosen. Think of flowers and crops and plants, and to each kind of seed its own body. Paul is saying that what goes into the ground is not what is going to be brought up out of the ground. What's going to be brought up is new and better. Think of a flower. Flower seeds are not beautiful. I've never come home from work and brought my wife a few flower seeds and said, hey baby, I love you. Check it out. They're just seeds. Seeds are not beautiful. They're nothing compared to what to come. So what goes into the ground is dishonorable. What's raised up from the ground is glorious. He says, so it is with the resurrection of the dead. When a believer dies, their body that gave up for whatever reason will go into the ground. But when Christ returns, we will be raised with a new glorious, imperishable, and powerful body. So Paul says, you guys are dumb. He calls them fools. Don't you know what God can do? You believe Jesus rose from the dead. Why are you struggling with the fact that you can? We're not so much different than the Corinthians in our doubting, are we? Resurrection, really? And to you, if you're skeptical of this, how could that happen? Do be reminded that as you watch this video, right now, you're traveling at inconceivable speeds on a molten space rock, carefully floating around the sun in a way that keeps you warm, but not too warm, cold, but not too cold, and with an atmosphere that allows you to breathe, and with eyes that are so beyond scientific explanation and technological recreation. And while you maybe still wonder if there's a creator, which I think to believe so accords more with science than not, rest assured, the same God that built you from the dust will have no problem bringing you up out of it.